I'm trying to keep the light from getting right in your eyes. Daddy! I know, but if I turn on the gas, then I have to pay all that extra money for gas. So, we will use a flash today for the video. Okay, but can you point it away from me? Kind of? Okay, that's good. Good morning, magic players! Incognitoes of all kinds! Easy. Give me the pug. Daddy has a really bright light. There. Daddy, that's a little bit better. It's pointing sort of down now, instead of right in my eyes. I like that. Anywho, I'm doing the introduction today for Daddy's video of the Super Deck Sunday. Sunday? Sunday. Yeah, I got half the head turn. You tried. I'm mad. I know you're mad. You gonna tell the humans why you're mad? I'm mad because Daddy says no more Tim Hortons. I'm sorry, we can't afford Tim Hortons. But what about my bacon? Well, Daddy bought you this stuff. It's like bacon crumbles for a salad, but it's bigger than the usual chunky stuff. Like I don't like the ones that are just like super small little bacon bits. These ones are actually kind of like pieces. So we'll give you some of those, along with the bagel that Daddy toasted up for himself this morning and brought into the car so that Daddy would have breakfast too. Okay. So it's a bacon. It's just not the same as the regular bacon, because it's not like warm and stuff. But you've got a whole bunch more for the park trip too. Okay? How's that sound? Is that okay? You want to give it a shot? Yeah? Oop. Try it again. Yeah? It's acceptable? Okay. You eat your breakfast. Daddy will make the video. Then we'll get going to the park. We got about a half hour, so Daddy has time. Daddy's paying attention this week. I'm going to make sure we're not late. Even though all our friends showed up pretty much well after we were there anyway, so it didn't really make that much of a difference, I don't think. But I know, you like to be on time. You're like your daddy. So, today is, as Kaiba said, Super Deck Sunday. Sunday. And today, on Super Deck Sunday, it is Yu-Gi-Oh's turn, because we're trying to go back and forth between the two as much as we can. I know sometimes we do like 2 or 3 weeks in a row of Magic, but I'm trying to be a little more conscientious about the few Yu-Gi-Oh players out there who still like to watch my content too. And today I actually have a fun one for you guys. It's one of my personal favorites in terms of recent builds. It's not like a build I built a long time ago. It's one that when I saw that these cards were coming out and I realized what I could do, and it was like, I was really excited about it because basically, well, there's no way to really say it without spoiling it. So, the deck we're looking at today is a Gate Guardian deck. Ooh, shoot. That flash really reflects bad on that. We might have an issue. I might have to put on the light. Well, shapoopy. Alright, fine, Kaiba, you win. We're putting on the gas. Yay! Better? Much better, Daddy. You gonna eat your breakfast? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Can't even wait. I know. He's particularly annoyed because I actually had to park at the Tim Hortons because I needed to pee this morning. And because we got started earlier than I wanted to. I've been trying to convince him that we had to start later this morning, but somebody's brain was like, no, but park trip. See, this is the time we should have been leaving for the park, 6:30. We could have got there early, walked around some, then visited with your friends, and then do the video after. But that's okay. We'll do the video now. So this is my Gate Guardians deck. For me, I know a lot of people, like, I've been seeing a lot of clips lately about how much Pokemon, the anime, means to people. And for me, the anime that meant the world to me was Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh! Really, like, had a huge impact on my life. And one of my personal favorite sets of episodes, because it wasn't just one episode, it was like 4, I think, parts to this duel. But one of my absolute favorite duels of all time was the first ever tag team duel, where the ParaDox brothers take on Yugi and Joey. And I've always loved the Gate Guardian monster. My original deck actually has a copy of each piece of the Gate Guardian plus the original Gate Guardian built into that deck, which is pretty crazy. This deck, on the other hand, is more optimized. I actually took this deck and competed with it at locals a couple times even before I stopped playing entirely, mainly because of these stupid cards, which I did have one of those, but usually I ended up cutting it for basically this was my deck, but I had like I cut one copy of each of the god cards there. And then I also cut all these 4, and I had a bunch of extra things that I was playing before that were pretty badass. But we are going to go through the deck today and see it, and I'm going to do my best to actually break down the strategy behind the deck as well, rather than just show off the cards, because I feel like I've been kind of ripping you guys off, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. So I want to really dive into this deck today. So first off, we've got 3 copies of the Gate Guardian combined, which you need Sangha of the Thunder, Kazijin, and Suijin to pull off. It has to be summoned from your special deck by banishing all 3 of the cards from your hand, field, and or graveyard. Whenever your opponent activates an effect or a card that targets a card you control, you can negate that effect, and if you do destroy the card, you can only use this effect 3 times per turn. And if this face-up special summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon one level 11 or lower Gate Guardian monster from your deck or extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So pretty solid card all around. Basically, this is what the Gate Guardian was always meant to be. When they originally came out, it was 3 semi-interesting parts and then a very vanilla boss monster, which was honestly like one of the biggest letdowns in the original set that debuted, because the Gate Guardian was such a cool monster in the anime, but they just didn't want to give it all those special abilities originally when they printed the deck. So while I did always have a copy of it, like I say, in my original like massive deck that you've seen in this series, Super Deck Sunday series before, this was the Gate Guardian deck that I always hoped to have. So we got those, and then we've got the 3 of each of the 2 combinations. So this one is the Wind and Water. Has to be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the cards. But you have to control those cards, so it can't be from your hand or graveyard. These ones have to be on the field. Once per chain, if an opponent activates a spell or trap effect while this thing's on the field, you can negate that effect. You can do that twice per turn, and then if this special summon card would leave the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon one of the banished cards that was used to make it. Gate Guardian Thunder and Wind. Same idea basically, except during your main phase, you can add 1 spell or trap card from your deck to your hand that mentions one of the 3 parts, and you can only use that effect once per turn. And then this one is the Thunder and Water. Same idea, it has to be Sangha and Suijin though, and you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent's controls and change its attack to 0. You can do that twice per turn. And then, of course, if this leaves the field, you get to bring back one of the 2 pieces. In this deck, there's also Egyptian God Slime ×2. I love this guy. He has to be summoned by using a fusion summon of the two creatures, which I'm never going to do. Or you can special summon it from your extra deck by tributing one level 10 Aqua monster with 0 attack, which I have the ability to do in this deck a couple times. Hence why there's 2 copies. 3,000, 3,000. And it can be tributed. This card can be treated as one of 3 tributes for the tribute summon of a monster. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Your opponents cannot target it for attacks, and your opponent cannot target it with card effects. Any monsters you control except... Oh, they can only target this thing while it's on the field, which is pretty cool. This guy was neat. He came out in the same set, so I included him into the deck. Basically, if I removed from play 2 of the extra deck cards that are already going to be out, I can bring this guy into the link zone. He has a 3,000 attack, which is pretty badass. And then once per battle during damage calculation, if this thing battles a special summon monster, I can make this thing gain attack equal to that monster's attack during damage calculation. And if this thing's sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, I can shuffle 1 card on the field into the deck. While this card is link summoned on the field, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, the monsters cannot target monster. Oh, craziness. Red Eyes Flare Dark Metal Dragon. Pretty. Fairly easy to get onto the field since Suijin, Kazijin, and Sangha are all level 7 monsters. Cannot be destroyed by card effects while this thing has material. And since I'm not going to be removing any of the materials to do the Red Eyes thing, because there are no Red Eyes cards in this deck, essentially it's just going out there to do its other ability, which is as long as it has material, each time your opponent activates a card or effect, I get to deal 500 damage to them immediately after that effect resolves. This one and the next one are a little harder to get on because you basically have to use up 2 of these guys. But they're both kind of worth it if you want to do it. During your main phase, 1, if your opponent controls a monster with a higher attack than this card, you can detach 1 material from this thing to attack directly this turn. And once per battle, if this card with material is attacked, you can negate the attack. While it has no material, you can target 2 monsters in your graveyard, and those monsters can become the materials on this card. So essentially this card has the ability to just keep getting its materials back. And same with this one. This one's kind of neat. Once you get it out, it's fairly easy to just keep getting stuff to it. During your turn, when you activate a card or effect, you can target 1 card of the same type, monster, spell, trap, in your graveyard, attach it to this guy. And then if your opponent plays something, spell, monster, trap, you can detach 1 of those same kind of cards from this thing to negate that card and destroy it. I'm pretty sure. Yes. But you can only do each of the effects once per turn, so you have to be really conscientious about which ones you're picking. You're a good boy. I am going to save the... Okay, I did stack this the right way. So, next up, we have the arcs. Before we get into the actual, meat of the deck with all the Suijin and all that good stuff, I'm going to show you some of the other stuff that I included in this deck, simply because, like I say, that one specific anime series was one of my absolute favorites, so I liked a lot of the stuff that the ParaDox brothers were running in that series. I never got my hands on a Beast Tamer, unfortunately, or the Dungeon Worm, but I do have some other stuff in here that they definitely were running. For example, I have 3 copies of Labyrinth Wall. Now, Labyrinth Wall, of course, is pretty much a useless creature other than the fact that it has 3,000 defense. But like I say, the ParaDox brothers played it, and I always thought the maze battle was really cool, so I included 3 of those. I also included 2 copies of Magical Labyrinth and 2 copies of Wall Shadow. Because again, that's the stuff that they were playing. Admittedly, all these cards are not nearly as cool as they were in the anime, especially the Labyrinth, but Wall Shadow is also kind of lame. It can only be special summoned by tributing a Labyrinth wall that's equipped with this, and basically you just get a 1600 3000 creature. It doesn't actually have any of the cool abilities that it had in the show. But once you equip this to the Labyrinth wall, you can actually tribute summon this from your deck, which is kind of neat. Next up, I was mentioning that I had the Metal Reflect slimes. Basically, that's how I'm getting out the Egyptian God slime. But I also have a Tiki Soul and a Tiki Curse in here. So Tiki Soul, after activation, special summon this card. It's treated as an effect monster with 1000 attack, 1800 defense. While this card is treated as an effect monster, if another trap card you control that is treated as a trap monster would be destroyed by your opponent, either by battle or card effects, sent to the graveyard, you can set it in your spell and trap zone. So basically, that's just a way to keep my Egyptian God slimes from being destroyed. Because essentially, they're out there to be just giant defense creatures, the same with the Labyrinth wall. And then Tiki Curse, after activation, special summon this one. You get 1800 attack, 1000 defense, so the flip of the other one. This one's also dark, whereas the other one's also was light. And while this card is treated as an effect monster, for another trap card treated as a monster battles an opponent's monster, destroy the opponent's monster after damage calculation. So essentially, if I can get both these guys out to protect these two, then these two can essentially just block and destroy whatever the heck attacks me, and then they can get reset, flip back over. So nice little way to recycle things. I like that in this deck. Where did I put those first few cards? Where did I put those first few cards, Kyla? Did you see? We are going to take a quick break while I figure that out. Pause. Daddy? Look at the time. I want to get going soon, really, to the park. Alright, Kaiba. How about I put a stop right now to this deck building, and we will finish this video after our park trip. Sounds good. Thank you, Daddy. Alright, it's time to film the second half of Super Deck Sunday. Sunday. So, I realized while I was flipping cards around in my hand that what I had actually done, and I had a good laugh about it after I started driving, was that I had flipped over the Labyrinth wall and tucked it in underneath of this. So when I was looking for it, because I thought it fell down, it was in my hand the whole time. Yes, silly me. Anywho, so I do have some more parts of this deck, of course, to show you guys. Now, I will admit, the next part of this deck is a little bit awkward because it does not fit the theme. In terms of, it does not fit the original tag team duel. But I kind of always had this thing for the tag team duels. I think they're kind of fun to watch. So one of the other tag team duels that I really enjoyed watching back in the day was the one with Kaiba and Yugi versus Loomis and Umbra. And their big boss monster was pretty badass too, so I included it in this deck. So I have a series of masks, and then I have the actual boss monster itself. So first we've got Mask of the Accursed. When you equip the creature, it can't attack, and the person who controls the equipped monster must take 500 damage during each of their standby phases. Pretty rough. I don't think they can sacrifice the creature either, can they? Yes, they can. Okay. Mask of Brutality increases the attack of my creature, or whatever creature I equip it with, by 1,000, decreases their defense by 1,000, and you have to pay 1,000 life points during your standby phase. Oh, otherwise this is destroyed. Mask of Weakness can only be activated during the battle phase. I pick out an attacking monster and decrease its attack by 700 points. Melkid, the 4-phase beast, and Grand Tiki Elder are both in here because specifically you need them to actually get out the boss monster. Otherwise, I wouldn't have included them in this deck, to be perfectly honest. They're not the best cards, but this guy is pretty badass. The Masked Beast Desgardius cannot be normal summoned or set, cannot be special summoned except by tributing 2 monsters, including at least a Grand Tiki Elder or a Melkid, the 4-phase beast, which is why they're both in here. Otherwise, like I say, I would not have included them. When this guy is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to equip a Mask of Remnants from your deck to 1 monster on the field. So this guy himself is just a really big beat stick, but I thought it was a really cool monster to include in a Labyrinth. It seems like, you've got your Gate Guardian in there, of course, as like the final boss. But this feels like the guy that like roams around in the Labyrinth trying to catch you. And if he goes down, the Mask of Remnants comes out, and you get to shuffle this into its owner's library if it comes out, or if it was put into play by the effect of the Masked Beast Desgardius, then it's treated as an equip card, and control of the equipped monster is switched. So I basically get to see somebody else's creature if they kill mine, which is pretty cool. So I thought that was like a perfect include in this kind of like, I know it's not directly on theme with the Labyrinth, but it fits with the tag team duel idea. And in addition to that, it also just, it feels to me like it fits in with the idea of a Labyrinth in general, if you take the concept from like Greece, per se, where I believe that's the original origin of it is Greece, not Rome, if I remember correctly. If I'm wrong, I apologize to the Romans. Next up, I have a series of random stuff. Then we have a few key cards, and then we're going to get into the actual good stuff that you guys have been waiting for. So these are all things that, again, you saw a lot of in the Labyrinth duel. So I've got a couple Man-Eater bugs because Man-Eater bug is just awesome. If you attack this while it's face down, I get to destroy the monster that attacked it, or I can pick a different one if I want to, but I'm just saying. Blastsphere, this was not in the Labyrinth, but it fits again with the idea of if you attack my face down creature, you're going to pay for it. So before damage calculation, this gets equipped to the attacking monster during my opponent's next standby phase. That monster gets destroyed, and then we inflict damage to my opponent equal to the attack of that monster on the field. So pretty solid. Jiragumo was definitely in the Labyrinth, and I mean, a Labyrinth spider just fits beautifully. Lava Golem, again, I know this wasn't technically in there, but it is a pretty cool card, and it fits with the theme of like Blastsphere and everything else, where I'm just like messing with my opponent's board as much as it possibly can. In addition to that, I just really like Lava Golem. I have like 5 or 6 copies of this, and I've included in a bunch of different decks because of that reason. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must be for special summoned from your hand to the opponent's field by tributing 2 monsters they control. You cannot normal summon or set during the turn you special summon this card, which is the downside to playing it. But during each standby phase of the person who's controlling this card, they take 1,000 damage. So if you can find a way to not be beaten down by this, for example, by blocking it with a Egyptian God Slime, then you take no damage when they try to attack you, but at the same time, they're taking damage for having this on their field, which is pretty cool. Guardian Iatos is another one that I know it doesn't fit the theme, but it's just a card that I love, and I've included in a multitude of different decks for that reason. If you have no monsters in your graveyard, you can automatically special summon this from your hand. You can send 1 equipped spell card that's equipped from this to the graveyard to target 3 monsters in your opponent's graveyard, banish those targets, and if you do, this thing gets 500 for each creature banished. I don't believe there's a lot of equipped spells in this deck per se, so I won't be really doing that second half. It's mostly just in here to be another nice beat stick card. Give me extra options sort of thing. It's another thing that I can special summon really easily too if my graveyard's empty. We've got the Mirror Force. Grand Horn of Heaven is a nice one. During your opponent's main phase, when they would special summon a monster, you can negate that summon and destroy the monster. They get to draw a card as a result of that, but still, pretty solid all around. Heavy Storm Duster destroys 2 spells and traps. You can't conduct your battle phase, but chances are you're not going to do this on your turn anyways. Solemn Judgment to just make sure that if there's any one particular thing that you're going to play to disrupt my strategy, I've got an out. And then I love Last Turn. I think this is a fantastic card for this deck. So basically, the goal I want to do is I want to get my big boy here, Gate Guardian combined, out on the field, then play Last Turn. So when I activate this during my opponent's turn, and my life points are 1,000 or less, I select one monster on my side of the field and send all other cards on the field and in their respective owner's hands to their respective graveyards. So basically, I'm going to clear off everything from the board except for this. And then, after that, my opponent selects and special summons one monster from his or her deck in face-up attack position and attacks my selected monster. The player whose monster remains alone on the field at the end phase of this turn wins the duel. Any other case results in a draw. Now, if they play anything with any sort of effect, I can automatically destroy it with Gate Guardian. In addition to that, if I remember correctly, no, this isn't the one that gets to negate battle. If the special summon card leaves its own control. Anywho, basically the idea is just to put out something that they can't possibly kill, hopefully, from playing a card in their deck, because they can't do something from their extra deck. Now, if they tried to do anything else per se, they would automatically run into the Gate Guardian issue, so that is kind of why I have that card in here. It's been a while since I played this deck, I apologize. I thought there was another card in here that, or I thought the big Gate Guardian could also stop attacks, but I guess it can't. Alright, next, we're going to get into a few specialty cards that just really make this deck pop off. So, we have 2 copies of Sacred Sword of 7 Stars. Banish 1 level 7 monster from your hand or face up from your side of the field to draw 2 cards. Again, Kazijin, Suijin, Sangha, all are level 7 monsters, so all of them are perfect targets for this. Gets me some card draw, puts an extra thing into my banish zone, which is fine by me because I also am running 2 copies of Burial from Different Dimension, which will let me put those banished monsters back into my graveyard. And then when I have 3 monsters in my graveyard, that just sets me up nicely for the big boss Gate Guardian monster. And then we've got 3 copies of Fusion Deployment, so that I can reveal a fusion monster from my extra deck and special summon from my hand or deck any of the pieces of the Gate Guardian, so I can get the fusion creature out that much more efficiently. So between Fusion Deployment, Sacred Sword, and Burial from a Different Dimension, I'm basically just shuffling my monsters through exile and back out repeatedly, while at the same time giving myself the ability to get out all the pieces of the Gate Guardian so much more efficiently. And now we will get into the pièce de résistance, as they say. We'll do the creatures first, and then we will do everything else after. Yes, that's the way I want to do it. I just have to reorder it as slightly a bit in my hand. Okay. I do not actually have a copy of the original Gate Guardian in this deck. I originally considered putting it in, but ultimately decided against it just simply because I wanted to run the Mass Beast Asgardius. If I decided not to run that combo in here, I probably would have run 3 copies of the original. Well, not 3. I probably would have run 2. 2 copies of the original. So we've got Sangha of the Thunder 3 times. We've got Kazijin 3 times. And we got Suijin 3 times. All from that new printing. So my original copies are all in my older deck. These ones are all probably worth like very little compared to those ones. I've got Shadow Ghoul of the Labyrinth, You can discard this card to add 1 Labyrinth Wall from your deck to your hand at the start of your damage step. If your opponent's monster battles while you control a Labyrinth Wall card, you can banish this card from your graveyard to destroy that opponent's monster. So this was the other thing I was thinking about too. If I play last turn while I have Labyrinth Wall out, like the actual original Labyrinth Wall, because technically that's a Labyrinth Wall card, I could, in theory, remove this from my graveyard and destroy that creature so I automatically win the game. So I have 3 copies of him. I have 3 copies of Labyrinth Heavy Tank as well. You can normal summon this card without tributing. It's also a level 7 monster, so it's a perfect target for the cards I mentioned earlier, and my XZ's monsters as well. You can normal summon without tributing. Cannot attack the turn as normal summon though. During your main phase, you can play 1 Sanga of the Thunder, Kazuijin, or Suijin that is banished, or in your hand or deck face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. So another way to get my cards back so I can keep playing the big piece combos. Then if you control a Labyrinth Wall card, you can destroy 1 monster your opponent controls. Which, again, I'm going to either have the regular Labyrinth Wall out, or I will have the actual Wall Shadow, per se. And that brings me to the Labyrinth Wall Shadow, which I have 3 copies of as well. One of the best field spells by far, in my opinion, at least when it comes to this kind of deck. Monsters cannot attack during the turn they are summoned, so it, again, if this is out, well, it won't be out when last turn goes off, but I mean, if this was out per se when last turn went off, you couldn't attack, but last turn will eliminate this card, unfortunately, from the field. Once per turn during your main phase, you can place 1 of the 3 cards that is banished from your or in your hand or deck face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. So I can get 2 cards basically per turn if I have the Labyrinth Wall and the Labyrinth Tank out. And then at the start of your opponent's battle phase, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls with less than 1600 attack and destroy it automatically. Pretty solid card all around. Double attack, wind, and thunder. I think I'm running 2. Nope, I'm running 3 copies of that. I was going to say I think I'm only running 2, but I'm actually running 3. If you control a Gate Guardian monster, target 1 card on the field, destroy it. I can pick any card essentially. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 of the 3 cards as banished or in your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn, but I mean, still, all solid effects. Preya Giaragumo, this actually counts as a trap monster too, so this one actually plays off well with the 2 trap monsters we've seen in the first part, the 2 rock guys. You can specialist summon this card or as a normal monster with 2100 attack and 100 defense to your main monster zone. In its same column, sorry. Then you can destroy 1 monster your opponent controls in the cards column. So basically you can set these as like traps to when your opponent puts a card down, you can flip this, special summon the card, and then destroy that creature. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 of the 3 cards as banished or in your deck to your hand. And finally, I have 1 copy of Ryoku Guardian. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, target 1 monster you control with Gate Guardian in its original name. Half your opponent's life points, then that monster gains attack equal to your opponent's life points that you basically halved. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 of the 3 cards that is banished or in your deck to your hand. This is kind of like my insurance policy card, just in case. But for the most part, that's the reason why I don't run multiple copies. And again, if I was not running Mass Beast Asgardius, I'd probably run 2 or 3 copies of this in addition to the extra Gate Guardian. But I really like the deck the way it is, and I think that the Mass Beast just kind of makes an extra beat stick card that's fun to have. So, with all that said, oh, one more thing actually. I'm not 100% sure if this works the way I think it does, but because I never actually got to try this combo out, but in theory, if Mass Beast Asgardius is the one that's out on the field when I play the last turn, should it die, in theory, it should bring out automatically the Mask of Remnants, And then I would take control of my opponent's monster, and I think I would still win the game. I think. I'm going to double check that later on at some point. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. But I think that might actually work the way I think it does. And if it does, that's an insane fun little loophole in the deck as well that I had not ever gotten a chance to actually play, but... select one monster in your field, and the rest of the deck. After that, your opponent selects and special summons a monster from his or her deck in face of attack monster. Attacks your selected monster. Any battle damage is treated as 0. The player whose monster remains alone on the field at the end phase. I suppose, technically, if I control their creature, though, it's still technically their creature on the field, so they would still probably win. It might not work the way I think it does, but if it does, that's a really funny idea. Anywho, that is my Gate Guardian deck. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this deck profile on Super Deck Sunday. And I hope that I've done a better job of kind of like going over all the different like combinations and ways that the deck like relates to itself and bounces off of its plays and things. Basically, like I say, like what I really love about this deck, besides the fact that it, of course, is from one of my favorite sets of the anime, is the way that the deck just like recycles itself so efficiently. You've got the 3 god cards, which you can basically get out without having to tribute summon them, which is fantastic. And then you can bury them as well. You can remove them. Okay, you want me to just put it all there? I'll just put it all there. There. Finish it off. Okay. Yes, the rest of it's yours. That's the rest of your breakfast. Next time, Daddy's not going to bring as much, I think. I think Daddy gave you too much there. Anywho, as I say, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And, yeah, I'm just going to let you guys watch Kaiba eat his bacon. Much love to you all. From Kaiba and I to you. Take care. And have a great rest of your day. Bye. Yeah.